Hey guys, welcome back to Carib 21, where we share what's trending in and around the Caribbean. So today I want to talk about Vybz Kartel. So Vybz Kartel, the most anticipated concert in Trinidad and Tobago, I would say for 2025. Vybz Kartel was cleared to perform in Trinidad and Tobago, and that will be tomorrow. So that is one of the things that I want to talk about today. And for the second story, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency CDEMA warehouse opening in Barbados. So those two stories I want to talk about. So let's talk about it. Okay, so first up, let's talk about some news coming out of the beautiful twin island of Trinidad and Tobago. And this news is coming out of Trinidad courtesy of TTT News, Trinidad and Tobago. So it's been reported yesterday that controversial dancehall superstar Vybz Kartel was cleared to perform in Trinidad and Tobago at the concert that will be held tomorrow, May 31st. So these are the reports coming out of Trinidad and Tobago, courtesy of TTT News. Let's take a look.
Jamaican dancehall artist Adidja Palmer, Vybz Kartel, will grace the Queen's Park Savannah stage in Port of Spain, Trinidad on Saturday, May 31st, for the first time since his acquittal on August 1st last year. Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police Garvin Henry said the aim of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is to ensure that all partygoers have a good time responsibly and to enforce the law.
Concert goers can look forward to a high police presence in and around the venue, working to maintain order and protect all patrons.
The Concert Gold Commander reiterated that firearms are not permitted on concert grounds, and persons in possession of firearm users' licenses are encouraged to lodge their weapons at the nearest police station before the concert. ACP Henry also emphasized a zero-tolerance policy toward the smoking of cannabis and other illegal substances.
According to Section 7(5)(a) of the Dangerous Drug Act, any person who smokes or uses cannabis or cannabis resin in a public place commits an offense and is liable, upon summary conviction, to a fine of $50,000. This zero tolerance also extends to the illegal use of other illegal substances, narcotics, or drugs.
Patrons are also reminded that glass bottles are strictly prohibited. ACP Henry is encouraging patrons to work with the police to ensure that safety and order are maintained throughout the concert. The highly publicized One Caribbean Music Festival will also feature Jamaican dancehall veteran Sizzler, Mali Don, The Diva, Lady Lava, and many others. Ayana Carter, TTT News.
Okay, so those were the reports coming out of Trinidad and Tobago, courtesy of TTT News. So let's talk about it in the comment section. And there's no doubt about it that Vybz Kartel is, I would say, easily the most controversial Jamaican dancehall superstar ever in the history of Jamaican music. I would say he's the most controversial. And I think it's a part of his selling power. I think Vybz Kartel thrive in controversy. And like Vybz Kartel, with everything that is coming out of Trinidad and Tobago about his limitations in terms of media interviews, like going to community centers or speaking to young people at schools, and even like TV and radio interview, I think those things, like, I don't think it fazes him very much. I think it's something that he thrive in controversy. That is Vybz Kartel. But I think one of the things what I realized in the Caribbean, so Trinidad and Tobago now, Trinidad and Tobago, we saw a state of emergency last year. We see a lot of stories coming out of Trinidad and Tobago about fighting crime and violence. So I don't know how many really well-thinking people that love their island in Trinidad and Tobago that would have too much of a problem with the steps that were taken by the government. I know some people will have a problem, but I think in the Caribbean, I know people are always concerned about linking Caribbean music, in particular dancehall, to crime and violence. And people are saying, like, why don't you have the same step for like movies? Why is it just picking on the creatives in the region in terms of dancehall? And so the steps that the government is undergoing in terms of like no firearm. I think one of the more controversial one that people really have a problem with is smoking, because people are saying that, look, in Canada it's legal, in America, in a lot of the states in America it's legal. Why are we in the Caribbean still going on about smoking this thing? So I think that is one of the thing that people would have a problem with. But apart from that, I think the heavy police presence, like that is common because it's a massive concert and you don't want anything to go wrong, and any crowd rush kind of thing, any stampede, because those things can be dangerous for these type of big concerts. So the heavy police presence, I don't think people would have a problem with it. I think no one, like, why would you want to take a firearm to a concert? I don't know why, but I think people will not have a problem with that also. I just see people have a problem with the smoking. Like, why can't we go out and smoke? Why are you monitoring our fun, you know? But I don't know, sound off in the comment section and let me know what are your thoughts. If you're in Trinidad and Tobago, if you're going to this concert tomorrow, do you think it's too much? The government is playing too much of a role in this in terms of trying to monitor what people do in terms of smoking and, as I said, traveling with firearm, which I don't know why people would want to travel to a concert with a firearm. But sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this one. So the next story that I want to talk about is coming out of Barbados. So we saw earlier this week in Barbados that CDEMA is a Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency in the Caribbean, and that they opened the hub in the beautiful island of Barbados. And this is courtesy of News Nation coming out of Barbados. So let's take a look what happened this week.
This hub is about saving lives. Let's be very, very clear. This is about getting food and supplies, critical supplies, pharmaceuticals, etc. to persons within 48, 72 hours of a major disaster. But it isn't only limited to emergency responses for disaster. It is also going to be for humanitarian crises. And I think in this speech you heard me speak about the utterly devastating situation in Haiti, where more than 1 million people have been displaced in the recent times, and where almost half the population is deemed to be suffering from food insecurity. For us in Barbados, that is a concept that we are not even familiar or aware with. We did the opening a few years ago, and this is also positioning Barbados, leveraging our geography. And I said then geography matters. And because Barbados is the most easterly, a judgment was made that given the fact that we are less likely to be hit than most, this is probably the safest place. If you have to wait on stuff to come from Panama, that's 1,200 miles away. If you have to bring stuff from Miami, 1,500 miles away. So having Barbados located, along with the establishment of the fact of that CDEMA has established itself here as its headquarters. The Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology is there in Husbands in St. James. This is just a perfect conclusion to what would otherwise be systems in there, ensuring now that it is not just high level and academic and policy, but it is also now about making sure that food can get to people. A warehouse on its own will not do that. Therefore, the connectivity, the digital connectivity is utterly critical as well. And then, of course, why is it at the airport? Because you're not only servicing Barbados, so goods are coming in and going back out. You would know, even from our own recent experiences with Beryl, how many ships went down from the Coast Guard or from private operators to impact others, particularly in the eastern and southern Caribbean.
Okay, so that is coming out of Barbados, courtesy of News Nation. And that is the CDEMA, as I said, Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, opening their hub in Barbados, right there at the airport. So what kind of problem could anyone have with this venture in Barbados? And one of the things is that, I'm a champion for the Prime Minister of Barbados. And for people that have been watching me for a while know that, I think she's one of the best Prime Minister we have seen in my lifetime. Certainly. And my lifetime is a long time. So I think she's one of the best Prime Minister in the Caribbean, in the history of the Caribbean. But one of the things I realized that even for people in Barbados that have a problem with the Prime Minister, with Mia Mottley, the problem that always seems to surface is that the Prime Minister of Barbados, that she is more of an advocate for the Caribbean while not taking care of everything that needs to be taken care of at home, if that makes sense. So a lot of people, that is a complaint, the number one complaint when people that watch this channel and any stories that I do about the Prime Minister of Barbados is that she's always about the Caribbean business. And like, in the Caribbean, they say, learn to dance a yard before you dance abroad. So take care of home first before you go out there. And I can understand those sentiments. I'm not in Barbados on the ground. Like I was in Barbados recently. And, even on my trip to Barbados, my takeaway from that is that Barbados is one of the best run islands within the Caribbean. I know Barbados have a heavy debt. And I think that is very commonplace with countries that try to offer like good education, which Barbados is, I think, number one in the Caribbean. Good healthcare system. They try to take care of retired people because Barbados have the oldest people in the Caribbean in terms of the most people in the Caribbean that would live up to 100 years old. So that, I guess, would be a testimony to their healthcare system and their way of living in Barbados. So that obviously is going to be expensive. So that is one of the things with Barbados having one of the highest debt in the Caribbean. But I believe that it is a result for taking care of their people. And so with this thing now, people would have a problem with it because why does it have to be in Barbados? Barbados is not one of the bigger islands. Why Jamaica can't take more of a stance in these regional things? Why can't Trinidad and Tobago step up when it comes down to regional things like this? And as I said, I can understand those sentiments. I would say I understand in terms of how Barbados is located. Barbados is the easiest access to get things from the US and to get things across the Eastern Caribbean. So the location is prime location in Barbados. My disappointment in this CDEMA program is when you look deep into it, and when we're talking about CARICOM as a region and being united as a region, this is telling a different story because most of the funding that comes for this program is coming from the Canadian government, is coming from USAID programs and international fund that's given to the Caribbean. My personal opinion is that I believe that all the Caribbean islands, every CARICOM member nation should put fund into this thing. And that is what I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing any information that would say look, okay, Trinidad and Tobago, they would give a percent of GDP in terms of putting funding into this program. I'm not seeing where Jamaica is doing the same, where St. Vincent and Grenadines is doing the same in terms of pooling resources together to fund this thing so that if there's a disaster in anywhere in the Caribbean, we can ensure that our people in the region is not starved. So that is my only problem with this program. But guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this. The CDEMA, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. Do you think the other Caribbean islands, remember 20 CARICOM member nation, do you think that more people, more Caribbean islands, more of the leaders should take a leadership role in these programs as opposed to leaving it up to Barbados by themselves? Sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this one. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.